In this video, I'm going to show you how to do a really simple stencil that you can use for some basic photography in the style of Paperboyo, who creates these very small silhouettes that he then places in situations in his photographs and makes them a part of his composition. So to do this, I've printed out a stencil from the internet. You could also use a photograph that you have as well, which I'll show you how to use that in a moment. So you'll need a printout, or you can also trace off a computer screen. I've got a small bit of black card. If you don't have black card, which is ideal, you can always just stick paper versions of the silhouettes to card, and I've just got some cardboard examples here from packaging that I've got at home that might be useful. You can also use black card, scissors, a craft knife if you've got it and you feel confident using it. Go through how to stay safe with those. Maybe a pencil, a pen, like a permanent marker might be helpful, and a rubber and possibly a glue stick. Okay, so to create this one here, you can see the 3 steps that I've gone through here. Got from the printout. Here, I've cut it out very neatly. I've used scissors for this. I feel that's really helpful with paper to get a very accurate, neat finish around the edges. It's quite important to get some of that detail. So scissors are the best way I've found to do that. So first of all, from your paper one, your printout, just use some scissors now to cut it out. Now I've cut out that from the paper. You saw that I cut this out quite roughly at first, then went back over this as quite as much detail as I possibly could to get that face profile as neat as possible. I'm now going to put it on a bit of card. Now, ideally black card, then you don't have to do any more colouring in or sticking, and it's quite firm and robust. So I'm just holding it in place now, and I'm just drawing around it with a pencil. On black card, pencil stands out quite well. It goes like a silvery colour, so it's easy to spot, which is helpful. Black barrier would be fine, it should show up. You might also have a white gel pen. See that shows up quite well. Now, it might be that actually scissors for you for this shape would be the best option. If you are deciding to use a craft knife, then please do be sensible with it. Make sure that you are familiar with, having used it and practiced with it before. Make sure that you only put so much of the blade out. We're not cutting through foam or a giant sort of deep piece of card. It's very thin, so it doesn't need to be that long. The blade doesn't need to be out that much. If it's got a lock on it, lock the blade out so it doesn't go in or out as you press. And as you're holding the blade, make sure that your hand that you are holding the card with is up and above and away from where you are cutting with the knife. Just make some marks here. I'm always generally cutting towards me, and the reason for that is as I get towards myself, the pressure and the sort of strength of the knife goes away. If I go that way, my weight will go with it, and obviously that's not what we want in terms of cutting ourselves. So that means that we're always cutting towards us, which means we constantly turn the piece that we're using, so that we're always making that cut. Again, I'm keeping the hand that I don't use out of the way. You'll notice that the way I'm holding the knife is not as I would hold a pencil. If you do that, it ends up scratching at the card, blunting the knife as well. You want very much for your your finger to be pressing quite hard. You'll see that your nail will go a little bit whiter or a bit pinker as you're pressing, and you're holding on like that. Okay, so I hold it like that sideways. It's very much an upright position. So again, I'm constantly just turning that round to get the angles correct. If you don't want to use a knife, or you feel actually it's not going to suit the shape that I'm doing, then absolutely don't use it. You might find that actually using some scissors would be just as easy with the cardboard at this stage. Now I've cut that out with scissors, you can see it's got a lot more strength to it than the paper version. It's not going to fold and break or rip quite as much. So black card is ideal, or any sort of card. If you don't have card, then you can absolutely just stick multiple layers of paper together, or just see how you get on with the paper. But you might find that it starts to curl and has this sort of white edge on it, which is may detract from the photographs you're taking. If when you finish cutting out your stencil and you can see any tiny silvery marks from the pencil, then very carefully just see if you can rub those away again, so you get a really good finish on your image when you're using your stencil. Okay, I've got one here that is a swimmer, so I might try and put him in sort of water in the sink, or you know, a bowl of water or a jug of something, so it looks like somebody's swimming inside that liquid, that half submerged in the water with their arm outstretched. For this one, I'm going to stick to a piece of card. So I've got my card here. Again, we're going to use loads of Pritt stick for this one. You might have PVA glue. What I suggest is, rather than gluing onto the card you're going to be using, you might be left with marks on your black piece of card, is get a scrap piece of paper, maybe that you can use to glue. So just making sure that every part of this piece of paper is going to be stuck really well to the card. Again, we don't want anything curling up or ruining the quality of finish. So I'm just peeling that off now. I've glued it. And again, I'm going to place it here on my piece of packaging or card that I've got available at home. I'm trying as far as possible to make sure the glue, my fingers, isn't going to go on the black, so it just takes away or gives it a shine. Sometimes you can be left with a silvery trail from glue stick, and that might not be the finished quality you're looking for. That's stuck on there now. So again, you might use scissors or a craft knife now to cut that out. Now finish cutting that out with scissors. There may be some areas that you're not happy with, so you can actually firm those up using the craft knife just to recut those. But you'll also notice that because I've used a cardboard that is white or predominantly white, the edges have got like a bit of an outline to them, which again may not fit what you're looking for. So I've got a permanent pen here. You could use a fine liner or a gel pen, maybe even a biro. And I'm just going to colour those edges in, just to try and take them away a little bit, and it'll make them disappear a little bit. You may find that, you know, if it shows up quite a lot that you've used pen, you might have to go over the silhouette itself just to make sure that it's all in the same, you know, same colour black. Sometimes they can differ, they can be a bit more bluey or purpley. So just trying to make sure those edges aren't going to stand out too much. And okay, so straight away it looks more solid black and has more of that impact of a silhouette that we were looking for with our work. Okay, so there's two ways: using the black card itself or transferring it onto another piece of card. So before, you can also use multiple layers of paper stuck together if that's an issue for you. What you could also do, and if you were doing GCSE photography you would do this, is take your own photos and actually use those as so it could be somebody walking, somebody about to jump into a pool like this one. And then what I'm going to do here, again, I'm going to make sure that I know what I'm going to use as my silhouette. So I'm going over the body, so even the parts that are quite in the light, making sure that I'm colouring in black just to transfer it into a silhouette straight away. So you can see now I've turned it into a silhouette that I can cut out. Again, go through the same actual process of cutting it out and sticking it onto a piece of card that I can use then in my photography. It's important to do it from a picture. You are more than welcome to draw these freehand, but what you'll find is it's quite difficult to draw a body in motion such as this, because the body, the muscle, the tone of the person's body and the angles don't always seem quite right when you draw them out here, but you can tell straight away that this is a real picture. It's got a silhouette drawn on it and it has a much more realistic look to it. So I'm going to cut this one out and show you this one finished. So there's 3 different ways there: copying it, tracing it through onto black card, which is probably the most professional finish, but it's difficult to have that at home. Transferring it onto everyday packaging or card that you might have at home and colouring in the edges. Also coming up with your own poses that you could take pictures of yourself or somebody else, and then printing those out, and they can also become a silhouette that you can use as well. Thank you.